Welcome back for another episode of Discuss, this time with Danica and Cassar, a partner at Willingness. Danica, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Could you just go ahead and give us a brief introduction to you and Willingness and what you do?
So Willingness is a team of professionals focusing on family, sex and health. We are a group of psychologists, doctors, counselors, therapists, specializing in the field of mental health. I am a partner there and also work as a health psychology practitioner, where I see clients in order to help them improve their physical and mental well-being.
Amazing, lovely. So I'd like to touch upon, I feel that a lot of hype, well, you could say hype, is on being burnt out, stressed, tired. So what is burnout exactly?
Like you're saying, hype. Burnout is a word that we've been using often, and perhaps it is to describe burnout, but sometimes you're using it to describe stress, which are very two different things.
So they're not the same thing?
No.
Okay.
No. So chronic stress, constant stress can lead to burnout. Okay?
Okay.
And burnout is a state of mental, physical and emotional exhaustion. So for example, I wake up in the morning and feel very tired and demotivated to start my day. I find it very hard actually to get out of bed, perhaps go to work or take care of the kids or do whatever that I need to do.
So these are signs of burnout?
Yes.
I see. Okay.
As well, it could be that we find it hard to communicate with others, so we might retract a bit and be more on our own. So for example, we tend to be more lonely perhaps, and this is another sign of perhaps we might be getting close or we're feeling a little bit burnt out, because some things that usually we used to enjoy, like for example our hobbies or meeting up with family, friends, are things that now they start to bother us or they feel very difficult to do.
What would you say are the main causes of being burnt out?
So the main causes require long-term stress for a long period of time, which usually is revolved around work.
So work, school, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if you don't work, however, and you have a lot on your plate, so for example, having to keep up with the house, the kids, other family members, perhaps, you can still feel burnt out because it is derived from a long period of stress, which could be 2 months, 6 months, without taking a break, without finding the time to take care of ourselves, and obviously then it would lead to exhaustion.
Definitely. And are there ways that you can prevent these things from
of course.
coming up?
Of course, and you mentioned coming up. They will come up. Things come
Definitely.
up. Life always brings things up, okay?
Throwing it at you.
Exactly. But the way we deal with them makes the difference, right?
Yeah.
So prevention is better than cure. So the way I talk with people and encourage them to do activities in order to prevent burnout as much as possible.
Yeah.
But this doesn't mean that if we are feeling burnt out, there's nothing we can do and that's it. There's lots of things that can be done, but obviously prevention is better than cure. So we aim to prevent it.
I love that statement actually. And now I'm a bit curious. Would you say that being burnt out would be more affected in women, in men? How are the statistics for that?
So burnout, people of different ages, the people of different genders can be affected, but research does show that there is a higher prevalence in women.
So it's interesting that actually, but how does it affect you mentally, physically? How does that work?
Yeah, so basically it impacts our own motivation, right? So for example,
I can imagine why.
When you're feeling tired, the world around you might feel a little bit darker, might feel a little bit heavier, and then everything that you used to do before, even though you know how to do it and you know how to do it well, perhaps there would be the issue with not having enough energy, not having enough mental power to do it.
So let's say I'm seeing my friend being a bit slower, a bit quieter, as you said before. What are the signs that I should be looking out for in my friends, just to see like how can I help them if they're burnt out?
It's a very good question. Obviously, first from observation. If you're seeing a change in the way they dress or the way they present themselves.
Okay.
If you see a bit of a change with communication, maybe they're a bit more withdrawn, or they are passing more negative comments than usual. So, for example, one symptom of burnout is cynicism. So perhaps they're a bit more cynical to everything that's happening around them, where usually they wouldn't be this much. So that's a very good point to keep in mind. And perhaps a suggestion would be asking them like, hey, are you okay? I've been noticing lately you're a bit off. It's not in an offensive way, but
just ask.
I care about you and I just want to know that you're okay, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't realize they're being burnt out. Someone needs to point it out to them.
They just think they're, for example, tired, or they've just...
tired, or I can cope with it, it's okay, I shouldn't be nagging about it, it's something that I should deal with. So that's why it's important to ask something like this, or observe the people around us, how they're feeling.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes people are a bit in denial when it comes to accepting that they're tired, or that... I myself feel that I get a bit tired at times. I feel that sometimes I'm a bit scared to say that I have a lot on my plate. I feel like I'm a bit weak if I say something like that. But let's say I want to self-diagnose myself. What are the questions I, myself, as a 22-year-old girl, should be asking myself?
So in today's society, unfortunately, when we say no to something, sometimes it might be looked down on. Obviously, there are some things that we can't say no to them, but the most important thing is observing that obviously you're not saying yes to everything for a whole period of 6 months. Sometimes a no, in order to take care of myself, is more important, because self-care is one of the main ingredients to help prevent burnout.
Definitely.
The first question I would ask myself would be, am I sleeping enough? And adults sleep. Sleep. It's something that is so basic, but we forgot its power. Adults should be sleeping around 6 to 8 hours every night, depending on what we're doing and depending on the kind of work that we do. But 6 to 8 hours of sleep help our brain regenerate for the next day and help us feel rested.
So I feel that having a good sleep pattern is part of having a good routine in your day-to-day life. Yeah. I feel like only recently I've started to get somewhat of a routine. Do you feel that being disciplined with a routine helps self-care, etc.?
Discipline is very, very important. The discipline isn't harshness. Discipline is doing the same thing because it will benefit me. So, for example, sometimes I recommend people to start exercising in the morning, to start their day with exercise. And it feels like it's something that is impossible. But in reality, when we start the day with exercise, it is something for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So at least if by noon I've been asked to do so many other things for so many other people, I can say that at least I spent 30 minutes in the morning
doing
for
something
myself.
for yourself.
So in the morning, something like that, you need discipline to do it, because obviously most
of
us would
enjoy
staying more in bed. And having this discipline as well to find time to take care of yourself, because no one is going to come, hi Amy, listen, why don't you have a day off? I'll do all your work, you know. So,
well, I wouldn't mind if someone came up and told me that, but yeah.
So obviously we need to be assertive enough to realize and decide to take care of ourselves. So that's where also discipline comes in.
Discipline. Well, safe to say that discipline is something I've struggled with my whole life. But after hearing this conversation, I think I just need to just set my mind and just have discipline. Is there something else you'd like to add?
That we try to look at our life and reflect. So we talk a lot about work-life balance.
Yeah.
Work-life balance isn't if I have worked 8 hours in one day, I need to rest or do life for the next 8 hours. Because let's face it, when you're on holiday, you're doing life. You're full 100% on life.
There's no work in that life.
And then when you're working, sometimes it's 100% work because you need to do so many other things. But the idea is that you reflect and look on the past 6 months, for example.
Yeah.
Have I done just work? Have I done just life? And that's where the 50-50 balance needs to be. So observing that we've taken a couple of days off, we've spent the day with the things with the people that we love, that make us rejuvenate our soul, you know, that make us feel whole. So that's something that I wanted to add to this.
I feel like people need to make sure that they are covering those things, they're taking their work leave, they're still working, doing their self-care. This was quite an eye-opener for everyone out there, including me. Danica, thank you so much for joining me today. We'll see you next time.